If you're looking at buying a vehicle, one good way to get the most bang for your buck is to look at used vehicles. And if you've done any kind of searching online, you might have come across a bunch of different listings, and one of those listings might be from an online car retailer like Vroom. Now, Vroom is one of a handful of online vehicle retailers like Carvana, in which their operations are totally online. People can go on their website, search for cars, and they effectively buy the vehicle sight unseen. But the value proposition here, at least one of them, is that because their operations are completely online, they don't have to spend money on sales staff, they don't have to spend money on real estate in high value areas. They can give you the best deal. At least that's the proposition. In this video, I'm going to give you my personal experience with Vroom, in which I ordered a car and I got it, but then I had to return it. And I'm gonna walk you through that entire process, so stay tuned. Hey folks, Richard Walls here, helping you with career development and personal finance. And if those two topics are of any interest to you, I'd highly suggest subscribing to my channel down below and hitting the notification bell so you get notified of when I post new content. Of course, if you like what you see in this video, it'd be a huge favor to me if you also hit that like button down below. So with that said, let's get to it. My experience with Vroom.com, here's the story, and it starts about 3 to 4 years ago. I was looking for a new vehicle, new to myself, of course. And I was looking at going the used route because I did want to make my dollar go further, and there's a handful of cars that, perhaps a few years old that should still be in good working condition. And at the time, I was looking at a BMW 3 Series, but I wanted to get a really good deal on it. I know those entry luxury vehicles, in fact, many luxury vehicles, they depreciate pretty quickly. They have a really nice depreciation curve early on in their life. And so I was hoping I could find something at a reasonable price with reasonable mileage. And after searching for a little while, I came across a fantastic deal. The mileage was a little bit on the higher side. I think it was just a hair over 70,000, which, yes, a little on the higher side, but given the price, it was a fantastic deal. I couldn't pass it up. It had everything that I wanted for the most part. And so I started the process. I actually started with me lining up my financing through my bank. You can also do it through Vroom. I believe they also have financing options, but decided to go with my bank. And once I got that squared away, payment was sent in, everything's good to go at that point. So that process was fairly seamless. Next step was to receive my car. And so I forget exactly how long it took. It didn't take terribly long. Whatever it says on the website, it's usually correct. They've got the vehicle. It's a matter of taking the truck and bringing it down here. The truck gets here, I walk out, and along with the person that dropped it off, we do an inspection of the vehicle just to make sure everything looks good cosmetically, the vehicle starts, that whole thing. And so everything is looking fine. The driver leaves and I'm left with the car, and I'm very excited because I got this fantastic deal. And so I'm exploring all the different features of the car. I think the BMW at the time was maybe a 2013 model. And so I'm just exploring all the options. One thing I was excited about, believe it or not, was Bluetooth. I was very pumped to have Bluetooth because the previous car that I had, I drove for a very long time, and it was an older vehicle, didn't have Bluetooth or anything fancy like that. And so this vehicle, I would imagine it's an entry luxury vehicle. As a 2013 model, Bluetooth was already in many vehicles, well before then. After exploring extensively, I learned that although the website had shown that Bluetooth was a feature, it was not in this vehicle. And I was a little bit surprised because I thought I must be missing something. Maybe this is a user error. Maybe it's me. Maybe I'm not figuring something out. And ultimately, I had to call BMW and provide to them, I believe, the VIN number or some number that associates this car in their records. And what I heard back was pretty interesting. Evidently, the previous owner of this vehicle elected, at the time that they purchased the vehicle, they elected to have Bluetooth removed. I don't know exactly why. My first assumption would just be to save a little bit of cost, but I can't imagine it would have been that much of a cost savings, especially for an entry luxury vehicle. Bluetooth, it's a standard technology. So that was very surprising to me, and BMW told me that this option was removed. And not only was it removed, I of course asked, can I get this done aftermarket? Can I go get this done independently? And they also said no. And I'm sure there's maybe some way I could have done it eventually, but apparently what they told me was that there's a module in there that has to be there in order for any Bluetooth to be installed or enabled. And so that was very surprising. That did it for me. That was sort of the deal breaker. So I had this car, and I was at that point wondering, oh man, now I have to start the return process. How difficult is that going to be? Now, one of the benefits of going with, I guess I shouldn't say benefit, but one of the good things about going through an online car retailer is that not only is the value proposition that we've got this good selection, we can offer generally the best prices because we don't have the same costs and same overhead as would be the case for a CarMax, as an example. And so we can offer the best deal. But because we know that the consumer is looking at all these vehicles online and they're making a purchase sight unseen, then we need to give them a flexible return policy. So in the case of Vroom, I believe it's 7 days and a certain mileage number in which you can test drive the car and take it through its paces a little bit and then decide if you're going to keep it, of course, or if something's wrong with it or you end up not liking it, you can return it. Or hassle-free returns, full refund, no shipping of any sort, no shipping costs rather, of any sort, and you're in good shape. So I was unfortunately having to test that policy. And granted, I decided the next day after I received the car and after I'd done all my research that this is going back. And so called to start the return process, and everything is going fine so far. And they send a dispatch. They dispatch a driver or a truck driver to come pick up the vehicle. And when they come over, they also have to inspect it a little bit, make sure you didn't do any damage or anything like that. And so the morning in which I'm expecting them, I go to my car, and at the time I'm living in a condo complex, and so I had to take my car from my driveway to a more common area where there's more room for a truck to maneuver. And so we did it that way. But upon starting my car, I actually saw smoke coming from the hood. And I also saw a check engine light come on at the same time. And so not only was I was returning it for the Bluetooth, but then it gets a little bit complicated when you've got a smoking engine, which is very concerning. So it was good enough to drive to the spot that I needed to for the truck to pick it up. And they came and they checked it out, and I told them, hey, this just started smoking moments ago, earlier today. And they checked everything else, and it looked fine. And, green light, they grab the car and they haul it off. And I believe it was likely in a matter of, I want to say days, but certainly not a long time before the refund was processed. And again, no questions asked. The process to return it, surprisingly and thankfully, was a good process. And it was unfortunate that I had to return the car because I would have liked to have kept it if it had Bluetooth. And who knows, if the engine started smoking the next day, that would be concerning. But even in that instance, they would have taken the vehicle back. I don't know if you still wanted the vehicle, they could maybe do some repairs and then give it back. I don't know how exactly that goes. But nonetheless, this is all to say that the return process was great. So although the experience of getting the car and getting what I wanted wasn't quite there. I would say in Vroom's defense, it was just a very unique situation that this one feature wasn't there that should have been standard. But again, apart from that, everything else was fine. And apart from the engine, everything was fine. So all that to say is the process is good. And if you're looking into your next vehicle, Vroom, and I would throw Carvana, although I haven't used Carvana myself, I've used it to search for vehicles. The process is good. And you shouldn't be so concerned that it's sight unseen, because again, the return policy works. It, again, didn't have any issues there. So that gives you a lot of peace of mind when it comes to making a relatively big purchase like this. So all that to say is check it out. Go to vroom.com if you're looking for your next used vehicle. You'll find often some pretty good deals. And don't obviously just look at Vroom. You know, of course, search elsewhere, search locally. There's a lot of listings out there. Good deals can be had if you're just willing to look. So Vroom just happens to be one of those options. So all that to say is check it out. Let me know what you think. Maybe you've had an experience with Carvana or Vroom, and if so, I'd love to hear your thoughts about it, your experience in the comments down below. And hopefully that will help inform other potential used car buyers out there make a more informed decision. So with that said, thank you for watching, and I'll see you around.